Sephiroth has been revealed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and the internet is in an uproar, as usual with Smash announcements. Since not many of us on Game Explain staff are well versed in Final Fantasy, I thought it best to bring on a guest. Ahoy folks, and welcome to another Game Explain discussion. I'm your host Tris, and I'm joined by my good friend TJ Bond, a competitive Smash player who knows quite a lot about Final Fantasy. So, TJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and what your reaction to seeing Sephiroth was?
Like Tris said, I'm TJ. I'm a competitive Smash Bros. Player. I've been playing it for many years. My experience with Final Fantasy, well, my introduction to it was with the Kingdom Hearts series, and as most of my close friends will tell you, I live and breathe that series. So that was my first exposure to like Cloud, Sephiroth, Tifa, Yuffie, Sid, and all these other Final Fantasy characters. And eventually, I was visiting a friend, and they happened to have a copy of Final Fantasy VII that they had got, because they re-released it as a PS1 classic on the PlayStation Store.
Right.
So they let me play it, and I loved that game, and I listened to that soundtrack religiously now. It had a very profound effect on me. That game is legendary. So when I was watching the Game Awards, in my heart, I was kind of hoping it was going to be Sora.
Right.
But, so they're doing the trailer, and they brought out the money for this trailer. Cloud didn't get a CG trailer.
Nope.
He did not. He got the FF7 intro into gameplay footage, but he didn't get CG trailer. So there's all the build up. It was great. It was intense. I was in a voice chat with a couple friends, and Gleam gets sliced in half, and right off the bat, it's just like, okay, it's someone with a sword. It's someone with a sword. And not even like 2 seconds later, as soon as the first note of One Winged Angel started playing, I jumped out of my seat and just screamed. I was like, it's Sephiroth! Oh my god!
That's fantastic, honestly. And I know people were shaming us at Game Explain for not noticing, like, from that first note what it was.
And then Cloud got to talk. Cloud got to be in the CG trailer, and he got to talk.
That's true.
He didn't get to speak in English, but he got to talk. And then Sephiroth got to talk. He didn't say the line I was hoping he would say, but I can live with it.
What is the line, out of curiosity?
Okay, so because this has been said to death at this point on the internet, a good portion of that trailer was just recreating scenes from the movie Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Right.
And so that's also where he has I shall give Smash, I will bring Smash despair. Which in the movie, the line is it's like a paraphrasing of one of his lines against Cloud, where it's like, I've thought of a wonderful present for you. Shall I give you despair? So the line I was hoping he would say was when he shows up, before they reveal him, like, you don't even see his face, just show Cloud looking, and then all you hear is the voice, and just hear him going, good to see you, Cloud. It sounds like a goofy line, but the way it's delivered is just, it's imposing. And as soon as you hear it, you're just like, oh no. Because then the music kicks in.
I can imagine if the trailer was framed around that too, the chills people would have gotten would have been, like, incredible.
Yeah. And then they just did more Advent Children stuff. It was great.
I love the way they introduced him by, like, cutting Gleam in half, because honestly, what better way to just show off how powerful this character is?
It's like, you think you're a final boss fight? Let me show you how it is done.
That's terrifying. And I think it goes to show a lot, though, because, I mean, I, as someone who really doesn't know much, if anything, about Final Fantasy VII, I know who Sephiroth is and the legacy of a villain that this character has. This is a huge deal.
Sephiroth is one of those characters that's just, his name is so pervasive in gaming history that people they know who he is, even just through osmosis. Like, you even if, like, you don't know anything about Final Fantasy sometimes, you've probably heard the names, you've probably heard of Cloud, you've probably heard the name Cloud Strife, you've probably heard of Sephiroth.
Yeah, I definitely think this was such a good call to make, and I'm so glad this was so unexpected. Like, I don't know anyone that genuinely expected this, and I think that's because most people that were expecting any sort of Square Enix rep, it would have been Sora, as you mentioned, for Kingdom Hearts, or the people that are hoping for Geno. It would have been one of those two to most people. Most people did not expect, after the way Cloud was treated with Smash 4 DLC, and surprisingly coming back for Ultimate, a lot of people didn't think we would see anything else Final Fantasy. But I would argue Sephiroth is a better representation of the entirety of Final Fantasy VII than Cloud is, from what I'm seeing, at least.
It's great. I'm just glad, like, Cloud isn't alone anymore. Like, you got your hero, you got the villain. And also, like, this is, like, one of the first times we, unless you count, like, technically Piranha Plant, but, like, this is the first actual, like, DLC character that's a villain. Which is great. And despite my dreams of Sora not exactly coming true, Sephiroth's basically a Kingdom Hearts character.
He plays a big role, I think.
He's an optional super boss.
Oh, there you go.
He's there. Cloud and Sephiroth are there. I basically got it's close enough.
It's close enough. Close enough. Not what you wanted, but you know what? You will absolutely not say no to this.
Watch Sora show up as like a Mii costume or something.
I mean, we have the Sakurai Presents, and if this is another Square Enix set, yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I think it would crush a lot of hopes, but I also feel like that would also be like a really big deal to have, though.
It would. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Also, I find it amazing that neither Cloud nor Sephiroth got leaked.
That is true, actually. That is true. And that's really surprising, too. Like, there's such big names.
But funnily enough, so earlier in the week, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, when I was in a voice chat with with a couple other friends, we were actually, one of them brought up the idea of Sephiroth being in Smash. But it was specifically, we were throwing around ideas, trying to figure out, it's like, how would you balance him? His range will be ridiculous because the sword. It's so long. And we were like, how do you balance it? Like, you can't just make his hitboxes garbage. You can't just make it, like, you can't just make him bad. And we were just throwing around ideas, and then flash forward to the day of the Game Awards, like an hour beforehand, I'm talking with another person, not necessarily about Smash, just we're talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and like things we enjoyed, and how much we enjoyed the Sephiroth fight. I platinumed that game.
Oh, there you go.
I had a lot of fun. Very much looking forward to Part 2 when that comes out.
Whenever that is.
Whenever that is. And so we were talking about it for like an hour before, and then we get to the Game Awards, and then Sephiroth gets revealed, and then the same guy DMs me on Discord immediately, and he's like, bro, we were just talking about this.
You willed it. You made it happen.
I willed it into existence. You're welcome, people.
So, since I'm not super familiar with the origins of this character, I guess, I wanted to use this time to get to talk with you about it, to kind of help get, not just for me, but for any viewers that we have that don't know much about Final Fantasy VII, because as we've been learning over the last 24 hours, we're out there. So I wanted to go over with you, what exactly would you say Sephiroth, the one-winged angel, represents as like Cloud's villain? Like, this is Cloud's version of Link and Ganondorf, kind of thing.
I don't know if I'd say this is like kind of like Ganondorf, but so like initially, prior to you actually like knowing that, actually like meeting Sephiroth as the villain, initially you mostly just hear, you don't even see what he looks like, you just hear his name like thrown about, because Sephiroth originally it was like this legend. Where he was a hero. So Cloud was a member of what was known as Soldier, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like from the name. It's like kind of like a military force, like superhuman military force kind of thing. Actually, I'm gonna put an asterisk on that, but spoilers, go play the game. That's another can of worms.
That's fair.
And we don't have we do not have all the time in the world
no.
for that. But, so, Sephiroth was like a product of Soldier, where he was basically just bred for fighting. He was this renowned hero. He was basically like the ideal hero in Cloud's mind. Like, this is the person Cloud wanted to be.
Okay.
And then, we get to a point which is known as the Nibelheim incident. And the Nibelheim incident is basically like the catalyst for most of the plot of Final Fantasy VII, where, to sum it up, Sephiroth he figures out, well, air quotes, figures out his origins and like his past and like where he actually came from and what his actual, basically that like he may not actually be human and that he's basically been lied to his whole life.
Okay.
And this revelation and like the things he finds in Nibelheim drive him insane. And he starts to gain, like, he gets like this messiah complex. And there's an alien. It's known as Genova. It's basically the Final Fantasy equivalent of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, jeez.
And Sephiroth, for all his life, all he knew was his mother's name was Genova, though he had never met her. And so he starts like reading all this text about this ancient race known as, they call as the people in Midgar and the area, and like that world they just called them the Ancients. And their whole deal was they were supposedly they were going to lead them to the Promised Land. And so Sephiroth, he sees and he reads about Genova, and he's like, wait a minute, my mom's name is Genova. Is this alien, is this creature my mother? Oh. And then he goes insane, and he, to put it simply, slaughters everyone in Cloud's hometown and sets it on fire.
Oh.
And that's where you have the super famous visual of the FMV cutscene of Sephiroth standing with
the flames.
Sephiroth in the flames. That's where you see that.
Yeah.
Where he just looks right at Cloud, and then he turns around and he's like, out of my way, I'm going to see my mother.
Oh my gosh.
And then he runs off.
That's powerful, to be honest, and especially since that's the first scene we see of him in gameplay here in Smash. The first thing we see is a big reference to this. I mean, every single clip in that whole trailer, both the CG trailer and the gameplay, everything seems like a reference, which is really cool, actually.
It is. It's great. I love it.
There was a lot of love and attention put into this, which is expected of Mr. Sakurai, but definitely it's like you feel it come across. Okay, so that definitely sets it definitely sets up who Sephiroth is without going, too heavy into spoilers and all that. So I guess the big question then is, we know through gameplay that he doesn't always have the one wing out, glowing, big and special.
That is correct.
So how do you, as someone who plays competitive Smash, and you even said you were talking about how could they balance this character, how do you feel that this will work? Because I as I'm going into in my own analysis, I guess just a little sneak preview for people, I think it's tied to a meter that maybe isn't like, it not quite like Joker and Arsene, but probably along those lines, where his moves change depending on if the wing is out. But I'll toss that to you, since you know more about that than I do.
That's kind of along the lines of what I was thinking, but like my mind immediately went to, I'm going to assume it's a lot like Cloud's limit, his limit break, his limit gauge.
Okay.
Because Final Fantasy VII. But yeah, something along the line, probably something similar to like Arsene, like kind of like a hybrid of Arsene and the limit, because based on footage in the trailer, it looks like the wing doesn't go away after he uses like any of like the more powered up moves. Mm-hmm. So it's like definitely like it's some kind of alternate state, but the question is like, I'm not entirely sure how exactly you're going to activate it. If maybe it's like, I hope it's not just a damage threshold, but could be like a meter, could be something he's got to charge, cause like in the Advent Children movie, the wing just comes out like part way through the fight.
Okay.
And then he just starts doing different moves. Like,
so it's like a phase 2.
Yeah, it's literally a phase 2 of the fight, basically.
That's
like
really
similar
cool.
thing happens in like the Final Fantasy VII remake. When you get to that fight, phase 1, you're just fighting him swordplay stuff.
Yeah.
Next phase actually breaks out the wing, and he starts doing more moves and hitting way harder.
I know when looking at a bunch of his moves, it almost seems like when the wing is out, he has more magical attacks. So, for example, one of the ones that came up that I was interested in that I guess I'll bring up about, because I'm really curious about the origins of this one. It's when Sephiroth is fighting Ike, and it's a charge kind of similar to what Ike does, which I think would be a side special.
I can tell you exactly what this is.
But you see it starts with, like, the arrows, and then he angles it towards Ike. Yes. And I think this is a reference to Octoslash? Yes. I could be wrong there, but... Oh, yes? Okay.
Okay, so, because if you slow it down, you can see, like, you can... I went through that just to be sure. Yeah. Like, he does 8 slashes.
Okay,
he does it. So that's absolutely... The only thing that's a little, like, off about it in regards to Octoslash is because the way Octoslash works is he does the 6, and then he does the 7th one, he, like, goes up, and then the final hit is, like, a big downward slash. And he doesn't do that here, but it is the 8 slashes.
Okay.
While I'm like 98% certain, like that is Octoslash. I will not be surprised if they say it's like, because he has another move that's like kind of similar, but it's like it doesn't have like the final big slash. It's not nearly as many slashes, but it's like very similar in how it looks. It's called Telluric Fury. Just to cover like both my bases here, like it's either Octoslash or Telluric Fury. The fact that I did notice the blue arrows, like you can aim it, and that's cool. The fact that it starts like direct, like straight up, is interesting to me, because I'm not entirely sure if the fact that it starts straight up hints that like maybe that could be like an up B, but there's another move that he does that also could be his up B.
Which one, out of curiosity?
So the downward stab, the spoiler move.
Oh.
You know, it's like he has like kind of like dark effects. Oh, this move is also known as Hell's Gate in like Dissidia and the FF7 remake.
Yeah.
Where like he has like kind of like a dark aura around him. My thoughts on that: that's either his down air, and it's like it's kind of like Toon Link's. It's like stall and fall, and you just go super fast, or it's his up B, and it's like me Sword Fighter.
Oh, so that's just the downward part of it.
Where it's like he goes up and then he goes down.
Okay.
And
I could see that.
And in Dissidia and the FF7 remake, when you fight him, when he does Hell's Gate, it starts with he jumps up and then he comes back down. So it could be either or. My mind immediately went to, before I saw the arrow for the Octoslash pointing up, I thought it was his side B.
Yeah.
I guess we'll know when Sakurai tells us.
That's true. I was mostly curious about the Octoslash one because of the angling. It reminds me of other moves like that, like Piranha Plants, I think down special, where he goes in the pot and you can angle it. So I guess it's hard to say exactly which special it would be, but I do think it adds to the idea of when Sephiroth has the wing out and charged with whatever magic, his specials change. Because I do think the special, or one of the moves that we saw earlier in the trailer, where he kind of stabs the sword into the stage and stays, that strikes me as a side special, like Corrin's side special.
Yeah.
Where, you know, does the whole thing of like jabbing the arm into something and sticking.
Yeah. Because he stabs it into the stage and then he can jump. But when he has the wing out, you can see he also does a similar stab to Captain Falcon, and he angles it downward.
Yeah.
I've seen some people talk about like, oh, maybe that's like his side smash, but he does his side smash earlier in the trailer, and it is not a stab.
That's what I was also thinking about, because I was wondering, what if because that it does have that kind of the glow startup of like a little like shine that smash attacks tend to have. It made me wonder what if it's not the special attacks that change with the wing, but actually the smash attacks.
That'd be different. That'd be something interesting.
And that's what they've been doing with every single DLC character so far.
Yeah.
And I think, because when you're trying to depict a character that's so powerful, how do you limit how many special moves they have? And I think it'd be interesting if the approach to that was when when they use, or when he has the wing, his smash attacks become special attacks as well, like different specials.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a really interesting take to really sell us on his power. Now, sure, obviously then he automatically outranks Ganondorf and other powerful villains in terms of sheer strength, but it's Smash Bros. Who knows what tier he'll end up being.
That's true. I've seen people are trying to figure out how to balance him with his range, because I've seen people toss around like if they do the same thing they did with Byleth, where it's just you make him really slow, and kind of hope it's not that, because slow is like the opposite of Sephiroth. Like the whole point, like I could see maybe like you just kind of nerf his damage a little bit, and it's just he's focused more on speed and precision.
Yeah.
Because that's like one of the things they did in Dissidia, where he has like really good range, except when he doesn't for some reason. But he, the way he works is he's like really quick, but all his moves have like, in order to actually get the most damage out, you have to get really good at handling his just frames. For people who don't play fighting games, a just frame is basically when you have a 1 frame in window to perform like a certain input, and you can get like a follow-up, or you'll get a different property on it. So for Sephiroth, he has certain moves where it's like a normal, like in Dissidia, he'll do like a normal, and it'll be multi-hit, and you have a just frame input to get where before like because if you just hit, it's part of a combo where if you just hit the button normally, you just go to the next move. But if you have the just frame timing, you can get every single hit of the move and get the maximum damage. A similar thing happens in where he also has like 1 frame windows to dash cancel certain of his moves. So he has like really good movement, but only if you are like really precise with him.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I think, honestly, I don't think they're gonna do that in Smash Bros, but that'd be cool. Having I think having a character in Smash with just frames would be something very interesting.
I think that'd be really tricky. That'd make them one of the most complicated characters, I think, or one of the highest skilled characters.
Yeah.
Which
they did show him walking into the black hole really slowly.
They did.
I don't know if that was like in slow because that animation was really slow, or if he just actually walks that slow. Although they could have just been holding the stick like.
Yeah, you can have the slow
slowly.
walk cycle.
Yeah. But that said, that'd be like, even as slow as that is, that'd still be an intimidating walk forward.
Yeah, there is
like, I broke your shield, now I'm just gonna slowly walk.
I mean, he has the range, does he even need to walk?
It's true. I like how his side smash is just his default attack animation from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's like when he just jumps, where he just does the single horizontal swing.
Okay. Interesting. I'm really glad that there's still a lot of attention to detail put into like all of his moves, where they're very clearly all a reference to specific things that he does and all, instead of creative liberties. Which, nothing wrong with creative liberties, but when you can go that extra mile, if every little thing is a reference, it adds to that charm that like Sakurai really goes for.
Yeah, that stab is straight out of Air Guy's God Bless the Ring. And no one played that game, let alone you probably never heard. This is probably the first time you're hearing of that game.
Yes, it is.
Now, it's possible that stab is not actually from it, but he did do it in that game. Like almost 1-for-1 the same exact animation. So, for the sake of discussion, I'm gonna say it came from Air Guys, because it'll make for an interesting conversation starter.
I'm sure it does. That's really interesting. So to move on a little bit though, I am curious on your take, as you are a competitive Smash player. You do pay a lot of attention to how characters get balanced and the way they get patches and the way they work against each other, and the big question of tier lists and all that. How do you feel like they'll balance Sephiroth to make sure he isn't the Brawl Meta Knight of this game?
I don't know. Like I was saying, people were like throwing around it. It was like, are they gonna make him really slow? Is he gonna just like not do as much damage? Are his moves gonna be like very unsafe? Like, that's possible. But like, based on all the stuff they showed, like he has like all these like insanely good tools. Like, I've seen like the general consensus is like, based on like what they've shown, he's either gonna be like top tier or he's gonna be garbage. No one is saying like in between. It's just he's either gonna be super good or he's gonna be really bad. What
they need to do is they need to make him equal in tier to Cloud. Anytime they patch Cloud, they patch Sephiroth in some way to make sure those two are always next to each other on tiers.
Yeah, I saw some people say like they should either A, for the sake of lore, imagine if in the matchup Cloud wins. If Cloud wins the Sephiroth matchup, like on paper, or it's just like if they either A, they just buff Cloud with the Sephiroth patch, or they, for just for the cruel sense of humor, they nerf Cloud.
Oh, that would feel so bad for Cloud.
Speaking of Cloud, though, I saw a lot of people talking about
the Final Smash.
The Final Smash. I'm very happy Omni Slash version 5 is in there because that scene in Advent Children is super hype.
We'll talk about that in a second. Continue what you wanted to say, though.
Yeah. It's kind of, because people are talking about the sword. Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of people in like Twitch chats, and they're like, "Oh, is that a new sword? Oh, are they giving him a new sword?" And I just kind of sighed, and, like kind of slumped down in my chair because like, no, it's not a new sword. That's he always had the fusion sword. If you picked that costume, it just didn't break. It just didn't break apart. The thing you see at the end of that footage when all the 5 other pieces fall to the ground around him, that's just the fusion sword. That's the first sword. That's called the first sword. He always had the fusion sword. It was just something I found funny.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's neat that there's a lot of attention to detail in the CG trailer and the costumes and all that too. But to segue a little bit to what we just mentioned, so Omni Slash version 5, as mentioned, that is the version of Omni Slash that Cloud uses against Sephiroth in Advent Children, the movie.
Yes.
So since this very clearly is some different take on Cloud's Final Smash, do you think this is exclusively like how the Final Smash works if it's used against Sephiroth? Yes. Or are they upgrading Cloud's Final Smash in general?
Honestly, I think it's just if you use it against Sephiroth.
Because that sounds like a really neat detail.
Exclusively against Sephiroth, and if you're using the Advent Children costume. Okay. Because that'll be weird if you use it with default Cloud with just the regular Buster Sword.
Right. So then do you think it won't have any change on like damage or anything? It'll be the same outside of just the animation itself.
Probably.
Okay. That is definitely really
like
nice
honestly,
detail.
it's probably gonna do like the same number of hits as well.
Okay.
If you watch it, because if you based on like what they show, because it doesn't turn to Omni Slash version 5 until they're already up in the air. So what's probably gonna happen is it's gonna start off exactly like Omni Slash, where it's gonna say Omni Slash. He's gonna say his thing. He's gonna charge forward and hit them. And if he gets Sephiroth, once he knocks him into the air, then it's gonna do. That's gonna say Omni Slash version 5, and then he's gonna do the new one.
That actually sounds really cool. I definitely look forward to looking more into that because that just sounds really fun. Honestly,
yeah,
fun attention to detail. In a lighter note than big epic Final Smashes, I want to talk. Actually, you know what? Before moving on, Final Smashes, Sephiroth's Final Smash.
It's gonna be Supernova.
Yeah, I want to say, so it seems to be Supernova from the game, where it's his big final boss form, and then it transitions to, blowing up all the planets, I guess?
Yep.
But I want to ask, there's a scene in the trailer where there's this ship, and I wrote down the name of the ship, I gotta find it really quick. But there's a scene where there's a ship flying away from some sort of giant, energy blast. Where is it? The High Wind. It seems to be the High Wind flying away from a giant ball of energy in space. Do you think that's part of his Final Smash animation, or is that part of the stage?
So that I'm pretty sure is part of the stage.
Okay.
So that's the High Wind flying out. So where that stage is, that's like at the North Crater / the planet's core, which is literally just the final area of Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, I heard it might be the Whirlwind Maze. Is that not the case?
Sort of. The specific spot where that stage is where you fight the final, it's where you fight the final, it's the final Genova battle.
Mm-hmm.
That stage is also in Dissidia, and it's just called the planet's core.
Mm-hmm.
And so that scene of the High Wind flying away, that's what's around, they're surrounded by what's known as the life stream, / a lot of Mako. And so there's a big explosion of that bursting out. And they're like, okay, we gotta get out of here. Because that's super endgame stuff. And throughout the trailer, if you watch, you can see as they keep cutting back to the stage and different footage, the lighting changes and there's other stuff going on. You see Meteor at one point in the background. So what it looks like is the stage, at least in the background, starts to change and go through the phases of the changes with the phases of the Genova fight before it finally shows Meteor coming down, and then it probably resets.
Okay, that's interesting, because I saw like the cinematic with the high wind, and it looks really cool, but I couldn't figure out how that would tie into the stage itself, because that very much seemed like it was too cinematic to be just part of a stage transition, unless they pause the battle itself to do that.
Though if it is part of his final smash, that'd be interesting though, because if it was, it'd probably be at the end of it, when the supernova actually hits, and then it's like, okay, get out of here, planet's exploding. So this probably isn't gonna happen, but Sakurai is his attention to detail is immaculate. So
right.
If they want to make a lot of people happy, when you hit Supernova, that final smash better be 3 minutes long.
Oh my gosh.
Because that is how long the move takes in Final Fantasy VII. You see the supernova come through, destroy every single planet. You see all the math and physics on the screen for some reason.
Wow.
It goes through every planet. The name of the planet shows up on screen. It's like, yup, that's Jupiter. Watch this meteor go through it and watch the planet explode. And it goes past you, it goes past Earth, goes into the sun, and then the sun explodes. And as it expands, that's what hits you. And then you get this really awesome visual of Sephiroth standing with his back to the supernova as it slowly engulfs him, and he just looks at you.
Wow.
And then it does 9,999 damage.
Of course, because like there's no way you could survive that. That's the end of all reality. As you know it, that's just death. That's it. Goodbye. That sounds really impressive, though, and I think I really do think that this, and you know, we basically say this almost every Smash DLC, but this might be one of the most ambitious additions that they make, with the amount of things they can do with it, the amount of references, and the way they're handling it. And I mean, sure, Minecraft Steve, the previous one, which already had to change a lot of mechanics of the game just to make it work, definitely did that. I think to follow up with I'm fumbling over his name again. To follow up with Sephiroth, there we go. Starting to say it way too much, it's becoming a tongue twister. To follow up with that, I think is impressive because it to a completely different degree holds just as high of a note, and it's so high standard, I guess, there. And there's so many things they can do with it that would reference that. And even though we get, you know, Ridley and Ganondorf and Bowser and characters that are big-time villains that have their final bosses and whatnot, this is really the first time where it genuinely feels like we're getting the final boss of a game added to Smash, where they're here as the final boss, not with final boss capabilities or potential. He's here as the final boss.
He has all the gravitas and the oomph that he deserves.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely look forward to the Sakurai Presents for this, because I think this will be really interesting, and I also really want to see how much Sakurai ends up gushing about this game, too.
Absolutely. Also, I saw a lot of people upset that he has a counter. As much as it's been done to death, it's like, oh yes, anime swordsman with counter.
That's part of his kit, isn't it?
That's part of his kit. It's an actual move. It's in Dissidia.
Yeah.
It's called Scintilla.
Scintilla,
okay. Scintilla, Italian/Latin for spark or glint.
Okay.
It functions exactly how it does in Smash. He puts up the little barrier, and then he does it's a multi-hit. Mm-hmm. The only difference is that in Smash, it looks like he just kind of waves his hand, and then they get hit. Whereas in Dissidia, he actually does like a sword slash, and then you get multi-hit. He also does a similar move in Kingdom Hearts, but it's not a counter, where he just kind of just flies through you, and you just kind of have to press a button with good timing to block every single hit, or now you're at 1 HP.
Oh man, this is gonna be interesting. I wonder if you'll dominate stamina battles then.
Oh, that'd be cool. I really want. I gotta learn how Shadow Flare works in its entirety. It looks interesting.
I think a lot of his moves look really interesting, and I'm scared for the day he releases and we go online to play Smash, and you go into quick play, and it's the flood of shirtless Sephiroths entering battle, all spamming the scariest of moves.
It's perfect though.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm glad that of all the costumes, like I'm glad they did throw that in there, because that costume is still iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the final fight. That's the final phase. I wish his palettes were he has the same wondrous alternate colors that Cloud does.
Yeah. They're okay.
They're okay. They're okay.
Better than Pac-Man's, in my opinion.
They're better than Pac-Man.
Pac-Man gets some nice hand warmers. That's about it.
That's true. I'll take his nice muted red jacket.
Alrighty. Well, is there anything else you want to say on Sephiroth before we start to wrap up?
I got a friend who agreed to enter a doubles bracket with Cloud and Sephiroth, and I'm looking forward to that very much.
Oh, that sounds fun. You will have to tell me how that goes. That sounds really fun, actually.
Whenever that happens.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think that about does it for everything we had to say on Sephiroth and Smash for now. So, TJ, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you at?
You all can find me on my Twitter at Tej_007. Should be flashing on the screen right about now.
We'll make sure to include a link down. Yeah. We'll make sure to include a link to it down in the description below.
I do art, animation, voice acting, and video games, and occasionally ramble about fighting games. Fun times. Come join me.
Yeah, we'll make sure to include a link to that down below. Alrighty, and with that, thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Game Explained for plenty more on Smash Bros. Ultimate, especially with Sakurai Presents coming up soon, and other things gaming as well. Until next time, farewell.